Warning, what you're about to hear may contain mature language, adult situations, and depictions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Finn Wolfhard's going to be all tall and buff.
I don't think it's going to be as good as they get older. Honestly, I think the magic's going to be gone.
I think if they take a different route, it could work. But it'll be tricky.
Wow, it might even be the start of 2019 when that comes out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to come out this year.
Good lord.
Because it took like a year and it was about a year and a half between the first one and.
According to David Harbour.
Yeah.
Who's Chief Hopper. And Hellboy.
And Hellboy.
Holy shit. That Hellboy does not look very different. It looks like a little bit different in the face.
Yeah, he doesn't look that different, but I mean, but that's also because that Hellboy looked exactly like the Hellboy in the comic. Like how else are you gonna?
I don't know. I just kind of expected it to be a little bit different.
I'm kind of glad that they're not just gratuitously making it. I mean, the movie's probably gonna be different, but gratuitously making the design of Hellboy different. Hellboy doesn't need.
No, I mean, I thought it would have been just more stylishly maybe a leaner Hellboy with a baggier jacket and more of kind of a gaunt, but it's still just the super jacked.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what he looks like in the comic book. Pretty much. I mean, the comic book is kind of a minimalistic drawing, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it's rad that Neil Marshall's directing it.
Yeah,
I think he can do a lot with that.
I think so too. He's not my favorite director, but he
makes fucking good movies.
He has genre sensibilities.
I have a soft spot for.
I know what you're gonna say. Doomsday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's
fun.
It's and it's obviously I didn't get to make Escape from New York remake or the sequel to Escape from LA, so I'm just gonna make my own.
Yeah,
and I'll never get to make a Mad Max movie. Here's my Mad Max movie, or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
Nothing wrong with that. It's not there aren't a whole lot of surprises, but it's just here's that stuff you like. Just kind of in a different package.
I think his... Fuck, we should just be recording this.
We are.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, this is how I tricked you into getting super comfortable.
Okay.
So right when we started talking about Stranger Things, the new season, that's when it started recording.
Oh, really?
It's working.
It is working, yeah. I think what his biggest weaknesses are in his films is usually the screenplay, So
sure.
It's he has genre sensibilities. His movies are fun and exciting enough. If
visually the dynamite.
Visually great. If the script for the new Hellboy movie is good, the movie will be solid. Yeah. 100%.
When Mike Mignola, the creator, is involved pretty heavily, so
we'll see. I do think I think that in terms of the costume and look, I'm actually preferential for them not trying to just reinvent the wheel of what he looks like because I feel like that happens a lot in comic book adaptation type stuff. Is sometimes the character design is changed just because we got to have our own thing, not necessarily because it makes sense.
Yeah, in terms of Superman and Spider-Man,
right?
And the clearest examples, and Batman.
Sometimes it does make total sense because the first one we saw looked like shit.
Well, Tim Burton is probably the best example of doing a good job of taking the comic book style and being maybe it shouldn't look like that because it's going to be stupid.
That's a really good point because one, I think we kind of take this for granted now, but when the first Batman movie came out, and in retrospect, it maybe looks a little dated and stuff, but there had never been a movie like that.
No, not at all.
I mean, let alone a superhero movie, but if you recall what a big deal that was and how kind of revolutionary,
groundbreaking is a term that comes to mind.
I mean, really was. And now in retrospect, after all this stuff that's come out after with it, you see all the flaws and how dated it is and stuff. But
yeah,
as a movie in and of itself, and as a concept and a core idea of when it came out, it was phenomenal.
Well, stylistically,
yes,
it's set apart, but I would argue that if you read comics, when a new writer comes aboard for a new story arc, or when new artists come aboard for a run, like the style changes and the costumes change, and so I think it's okay to do stuff like that.
I do, but I mean, like it's sometimes. I mean, even like
in its own contained series.
Even in the even like when Tim Burton, when they went on to the second Batman, they redesigned the Batman suit, and it was so obviously just to have a new Batman suit.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure there's a part of that is like marketing and
totally, and it's just like in the Joel Schumacher ones where he has to have like 3 different suits.
Yeah.
In it, I mean that's a whole nother thing, but
I mean I bought those action figures too. I liked having deep sea diving Batman. Batman with the extendo wings, and
they pissed me off so much
jungle camo.
When Batman. I was a kid, it pissed me off because I was just like, this is not a thing. I did not. I did not buy into it. I was just like, this is not a Batman costume. Like why are you doing this? Just to make me buy another Batman action figure?
I mean, I knew it wasn't, but yeah, I liked having the accessories. If you put a respirator on literally any action figure, I'm buying it. I had a Jurassic Park Dennis Nedry of all people. The hacker character from Jurassic Park, he had a respirator because he came with like he had sleep apnea? What? No, it was like his costume for his action figure was like dino repellent Dennis Nedry, and he came with like a water gun that like you could hose down the dinosaurs or something, and he had a respirator, and then his arms came off, like both of his arms came off.
Was that a feature, or they just
that was part of all of the figures had sort of like battle damage.
Oh, okay.
And so like his deal was both of his arms
I remember off. The dinosaurs themselves.
Yeah, those had like the coolest.
The piece of their flesh would come off,
and you could see the ribs and the muscle.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I didn't get any of the action figures when I was a kid, but I remember looking at them in the toy store.
Yeah, my grandparents were pretty sharp in that regard, where they would get me stuff from franchises they didn't necessarily know I was into, but they would just sort of guess right.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I had an Alan Grant action figure that came with like a Dino Net catapult, and then Dennis Nedry with the removable arms.
My grandparents were always buying me like Disney shit. And they're like, when I saw this, it just screamed Elliot. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I'm 18, but cool.
You did look like a Disney character as a child, though.
That's true.
But
I looked like one of the
features.
Yeah, but I looked like one of the bad kids, who had to be taught a lesson,
Yeah, with the dirt smudged on their face and like a skull on their t-shirt.
Yeah, who just like, the kids like stealing the lunch money and stuff.
Well, speaking of childhoods.
Yes, sir. Well, we're back, guys. It's been a long hiatus. The Trash Heap has returned.
It's our first episode of 2018.
I know you guys might be surprised to hear this, but we actually don't get paid to do this show, so we have regular jobs.
There's no money in podcasting.
Zero.
No one pays couple of goofballs to talk about things they like, especially movies.
Although sometimes I wonder, like, some podcasts like, why is this guy getting paid?
Usually because they are already some kind of a talent, like comedy or acting.
That makes sense, but a couple times I'm like, you got famous doing this, and this isn't very good. I don't know. I don't want to talk trash on other podcasts because ours is bad. We actually had a revelation recently that the real garbage has been us.
Yeah, it was us all along.
Like, we've been talking about all these other aspects of trash and how we love trash, and really we were just trying to some form of self-preservation.
Yeah, there are no garbage movies, only garbage people.
And we are those garbage people.
And there's a good chance that you're garbage too, so.
Yeah, and that's why if you're listening to the show, it's a 95% chance.
Yeah, you were probably drawn to us for that reason, so.
So we're back.
Welcome.
It's me, Elliot, and Keith.
Hey.
Together again. Today our show is going to be, what are we talking about today, Keith?
We're talking about Stranger Things, the most popular TV show on the planet, but we're not going to talk about the show directly. What you should be watching while Stranger Things is on hiatus.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of lists, or things just on the internet where people are like, if you like Stranger Things, you should watch these movies, and it's all stuff like Poltergeist and Ghostbusters.
Yeah, 100% Ghost. How many times are you going to watch Ghostbusters?
It's all the movies you've already seen. Like, these are the movies that influenced it. So we're going to go...
The Goonies?
The Goonies, yeah.
We've seen it.
Stand By Me.
It's good. Thanks.
So this is going to be some deeper cuts, some movies that maybe were influential to it that you haven't seen, or maybe movies that maybe even the creators may have missed too, but
or even stuff they may have ripped off and you didn't notice.
And but it's just something that it's not so much, maybe less of an influence, but more like if you enjoyed this Stranger Things, you might enjoy these random movies.
Yeah, if you whatever streaming service you subscribe to, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or even Crackle, they usually have some kind of suggestion like, you watch this, so maybe you'll like this. Or customers who watch this also viewed this. That's basically what we're doing.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to navigate through the menu of your streaming service. You can just listen to us instead.
But instead of a computer algorithm telling you, making these decisions for you, we're going to give you real suggestions because we've actually watched these movies.
That was your pro wrestling name, right? Algorithm?
Yeah.
The math teacher who beats people up.
All right. So do you want to kick it off or should I? Oh, wait. Should we wait? It's been so long. I forgot things. Do we want to do a knee-jerk reactions?
Here's a knee-jerk reaction. The Death Wish remake looks like shit.
Oh, my God. It looks so fucking bad.
I can't even, begin to start with what's wrong with that, but I'll probably end up seeing it, but...
I'll definitely see it. And probably not theatrically.
Why? On every level, why?
Have you seen this trailer? I mean, not you, Keith. I'm just talking about you, the 4 people listening to this.
I hope they have.
Because, man, it's so bad, it's kind of hard. It's almost like... You know, like on Saturday Night Live where they have like the... Not the part that's actually live, but they'll have it'll be like the fake commercial in between their regular skits for like a fake movie or something. Yeah. It is like that. It's like... It is the joke... spoof.
Yeah, it doesn't seem real.
Right. It's like, if you loved the first Death Wish, you're going to love Death Wish, Daddy's Home or something, where it's like the Charles Bronson now runs a daycare.
It would have been more appropriate with Ice Cube or
the way this is played out, this should just
John
be
Travolta or
the way this movie looks in the trailer, it should just be a straight spoof where he runs a daycare and also kills people at night.
Yeah, he seems... That's the weird part is tonally, it's like... He doesn't seem too preoccupied with the murder of his family. He's more excited about wisecracking and, cruising around the street shooting people.
You're making euphemisms for, guns and his penis in front of underage girls and stuff.
I mean, I'm not necessarily going to go back and praise the original Death Wish movies as some kind of pinnacle of filmmaking, but
you could.
Well,
I don't mean
I mean, they're definitely a product of their time, and they have some interesting merits to debate, but I don't know. I'm not sure what Eli Roth is up to with this remake, but I have a feeling that this might be one of those situations where the marketing is presenting it in one way and the final product might shift to something else.
Maybe I could see it being different than the trailer, but there are still certain things. There's certain scenes in that trailer that if this scene is in your movie, then your movie is not going to be good.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, even if the rest of the movie is solid, this scene is so bad that was in the trailer, it would bring down the movie significantly.
Definitely.
So
luckily, we'll always have, if you really want to see a good Death Wish remake, check out James Wan's Death Sentence.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's a great sort of...
I wouldn't call it great, but...
revenge film. I think it's great. I think it really hits some high notes and also gives some good commentary on the nature of revenge versus...
Yes, I'll agree with
being
that.
kind of a gratuitous, violent action movie.
Sure.
It has some redeeming qualities. And
sure.
Kevin Bacon's pretty good in it.
I like Kevin Bacon. I got one. It's Summer of '84.
Oh, no.
I don't know. You hated this trailer, right?
Talking about the 80s.
It is another throwback 80s movie, but...
That movie should be on our list of shit to watch while you're waiting for another season of Stranger Things.
Well, yeah, but we just have to wait for that movie to come out.
Right.
So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. It is from the directing team. It's like 3 directors who made that movie, Turbo Kid.
Oh, well.
Which was another like throwbacky type movie, which I enjoyed. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it was very enjoyable. And this one's about a bunch of kids in the 80s, in the summer of 84, who think someone in their neighborhood is a serial killer. So it's a very like recycled.
But not one of their fellow kids.
No.
I think that would have been way more
interesting. What if that's the twist? We don't know. They think it's an adult, but maybe it ends up being a kid.
Right. So usually in these movies, and a lot of the movies we're going to talk about are this way, where kids stick together because you can't trust adults.
Right.
At the end of the day, like, it's your friends that you can trust, and older people, for whatever reason, are compromised, and you can't rely on them for anything. And so I think it would have been more interesting to see. You haven't even talked about the plot of the movie yet, but
well, it
would have been interesting to see kids betrayed by one of their own.
But that could be what happens. We don't really know. The trailer doesn't really go into that. It's just that they think. What we know is there's a serial killer loose in the town, and this group of kids are trying to solve the crime, and they have suspects. You're like, oh, I think it's the gym teacher. I think it's the police chief Jones. We don't know, but there's no clear direction of who the killer is in the trailer. So
right.
What you're describing could very well be the plot premise.
It's missing, but kids are going missing in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be, that could be what's happening.
It could be, but it's probably not.
Well, I guess you'll just have to wait and see.
Summer of 84.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I think it looks enjoyable. Watch the trailer.
But then, and I imagine the end of the movie is just going to be, well, we solved that crime. We'll never forget that. Summer of 84. After that, we all grew up and got older and drifted apart, went on to college, had families, but we'll never forget that. Summer of 84.
But then maybe that's what they did, but they come back for the sequel.
Or what if it's being told from the perspective of the killer, and the killer's like, that was a great summer of 84.
Where I killed all those children that were trying to catch me?
Yeah, those kids, they chased me all around that summer, but I got them. I got every single one. No one ever caught me.
Also, I would be totally okay with that. So we'll just have to wait and see how this movie plays out.
Yeah.
It's got me interested, though. So that's my knee-jerk reaction.
Well, you're also a sucker for groups of kids running around.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I love that premise. Because if you can tell me a better group of people to solve a murder than children on BMX bikes, I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, as long as the murder investigation is confined to the suburbs, kids are ideal to be solving it. Because everyone else is too busy, like, doing laundry and cooking dinner and buying toilet paper for your stupid poopy kids.
Mm-hmm.
You keep using the toilet over and over again and don't know how to flush properly and jam up the plumbing, and then you got to call a guy, and then you can't get him for 2.5 weeks, and you're trying to deal with a newborn baby and the boss is breathing down your neck, but the kids have enough time to back up the toilet and ride their bicycles around the neighborhood solving crimes.
That's why it's summer of 84. If it was like winter of 84, they would have science projects they have to work on. One of them would be on what sport do you play in the wintertime? Football.
Ice hockey.
Ice hockey. One of them, they'd be, this is a Canadian movie, so they'd be all about the ice hockey. Yeah. They would have literally no time to solve any murders. But in the summertime, like, what else is a kid going to do?
Kids have all the time in the world.
There we go. All right. Well, let's move on to our main subject of the show. So, you want to kick it off?
Stranger Things is obviously a show born out of nostalgia and affinity for the 1980s. Mm-hmm. And I think quite a few of these movies we're recommending are from the
80s. Yeah. And while it is born out of nostalgia, what I think one of the reasons why the show is successful is even though that there's a lot that the influences are kind of obvious at a lot of times, it doesn't do a lot of like winking at them. You know what I mean? It doesn't harp on the fact that does that make sense?
I don't know. The first season seemed like it was shaking its 1980s stick right in my face.
No, I mean it's very obvious, but it's not like they don't ham it up that much about it, that it being these old school references. There's no, they never look into the camera and be like, "Huh, get it? It's happened. It's happened in the '80s. You remember that, right? Maybe you might have been there.
I was barely there.
You were there, but you were.
Yeah, I was definitely there.
Or to whoever they might be talking to. It's just like, I think that's one of the successes of the show. But we're going straight to the source.
Yeah, this is the stuff you should be watching instead of, crying in the corner and bemoaning your pathetic life without Stranger Things.
Yeah.
There's definitely some great material out there that you can enjoy while you wait.
So, let's see. My first pick is a movie called The Wraith.
The Wraith?
The Wraith. This movie came out in like 84, 85, somewhere around 86 maybe.
Now explain to me how an avenging car from beyond the grave fills the gap of Stranger Things. This is going to be good.
Here's why. First off, we're never exactly sure what. So the premise of this movie is Charlie Sheen is dead, comes back as a human who can morph into a car or something, and runs over the bullies that killed him he runs them off the road. And he also appears to be a ghost from outer space. Not like he descended from the heavens, but like
a type of space ghost.
A type of space ghost, for sure. It's never really explained. The main reason why I'm picking this particular one is because there are Stranger Things. The second season of Stranger Things got the two main criticisms. There were two main criticisms that I heard a lot about it, and it was both about episode 7, about how episode 7, which is the one where 11 runs off and meets up with her.
Oh yeah,
all the little punks, the gang, about how it upset the pace, and also how the group of misfits. Yeah. The group of misfits would just seem so wild and wacky and out of place. And the argument I'm going to make is, while we talk about how this show is such a nostalgic love letter to the 80s and and all this stuff, one of the biggest tropes of 80s movies were ridiculous gangs that didn't make sense.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like there's the punk, there's the disco kid, there's the kid on roller skates, there's the Black Panther, there's there's like this group of people who would never come together, but now they're a gang together in this fictional movie gang.
Yeah.
And that happened all the time in the 80s, and I think The Wraith has one of the best examples of that, where it's just the most bizarre gang, where Clint Howard's in the bully gang, and
his hair is incredible.
He has a racer head hair. Not Nick Cassavetes. Is it Nick? Which one's the father and son? John's the father. Nick Cassavetes is the leader of the gang, and he's just like a leather bound, just like biker dude. And then there's like a punk, and then there's like a random jock hanging out with him too.
Wearing the Letterman's jacket.
Yeah, just like the ultimate group of bullies that do not, or gangs that don't hang out together. So that is my main reason for picking The Wraith as one of my suggestions. It's also just, it's a ridiculous movie that's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. But it stars Charlie Sheen.
It does star It stars Charlie Sheen, but most of the movie he's wearing a face mask, like a motorcycle helmet.
Yeah, or inside of a car.
So you don't even see him.
I wonder how many scenes he was actually in. Probably...
Like how many was like...
Only the ones where they showed his face.
Totally. Like there's no way he was the guy in the...
What a dick.
In the suit, because those are mostly stunt scenes anyway.
Man, if I was in a movie, I'd be like, yo, put me in the helmet, put me in the car.
Also, another crazy thing about this movie is, so he's a ghost who comes back to avenge his murder.
Yes.
And
it's
no
like
one...
the Crow.
Right.
But if the Crow turned into a car.
Right. And no one recognizes him because he looks different.
Yes.
The explanation at the end is not like, I disguised myself so you wouldn't know. He goes like, this is as close to my original form as I could come back as.
Who's making up these rules?
Exactly. That's the point. It's like, wouldn't it have just made more sense if at the end of the movie his face changed?
How did he get the car?
He is the car.
Right.
Because remember at one point they open up the hood of the car and it's like a magic engine.
It's just a giant Charlie Sheen head.
It's a glowing orb with Charlie Sheen's face. No, what is it?
So the rules of this are so strange because if he can come back and transform into a car, why is he limited in his appearance?
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. Because they have the flashbacks of him getting murdered, and it's a different guy. why wouldn't they just make the explanation like at the end of the movie, he like his face magically changes back to the kid from the flashbacks. And then he goes like, hey, I was disguising myself so they wouldn't know it was me. So that's how I was able to kill all of them without them getting scared about like, oh shit, this guy's a ghost. And just running out of town. That would have been a much simpler explanation that made a lot more sense. He's like, no, I could only, when you come back as a wraith, you can only look something similar to your former self.
I feel like Charlie Sheen improvised that and was like, no, the script is garbage. Let me bring something to the table here.
That's true.
He got to his point in his acting career, at least like in his own head, that he was like, I'm going to start really like diving into this shit.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about though, now that you're explaining this, it's almost like the creator of The Crow had someone explaining this movie to him, and he misheard the title. Like they mumbled, and they were like, "Oh yeah, a man comes back as a ghost and gets revenge." And what's the name of that movie? Oh, The Crow.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
The Crow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, The Crow. That sounds good.
Yeah. Pretty much. So that would be my first pick.
That's a pretty cool choice. Plus, the who's that goofberry in Stranger Things? Carries around the bat with the nails in it. And the
Steve.
Members only jacket. Yeah. I think there's a lot of parallels between 1980s Charlie Sheen and
that guy?
Steve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who I found pretty unlikable, right up until him and Dustin are walking the train tracks, dropping chum.
Oh, it's great.
That was probably when I finally turned a corner on Steve. So.
Well, it's his whole arc from the beginning of the first season where he's like a douchebag, He
was such a heel. Like, he was like the villain.
Yeah.
More so than these, like, evil creatures from another universe.
And he's like, he's had that most significant arc that also doesn't really feel forced. It kind of just feels like natural, where he's like, I'm tired of being a jerk type of thing.
Yeah. He's really growing up and maturing. Meanwhile, like, all the younger kids are regressing and turning into brats, and I hate this show so much. Not really.
What's your pick, Keith? Your first pick.
Well, man, there's so many great movies from this period, and gee whiz, weren't the 80s awesome?
Sure were.
They were. But I chose to bring up a movie that's all about kids banding together against an evil force, and adults aren't going to help. No. Adults are useless. Only kids know, real kids know how to banish the evil for good. And so that's why I chose 1987's The Gate, starring Stephen Dwarf. Not Stephen Dwarf. Stephen Dwarf.
Stephen Dwarf.
Wow. With apologies to dwarves and Stephen Dwarf.
This is a great movie.
Yeah, The Gate's incredible. So basically, Stephen Dwarf finds a meteor in his backyard, cracks it open, bleeds on it, and that opens a passage to hell. Mm-hmm. And that's basically the plot.
Pretty much,
and
yeah.
The rest of the movie is Stephen Dorff and his little friends, like his best friend who's a nerd with glasses.
But who also loves like black metal, heavy metal music.
Yes, he's actually like the template for like what a modern adult nerd is.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's why I don't think anyone could have seen that coming, but yeah, he checks all of the boxes as far as like someone who's, in their late 20s or early 30s.
What I love about this movie is this movie is filled with all the things that you normally just see in like spoof type things, like in Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes that you never actually see that often in real movies. You just always see the spoof versions, like playing a heavy metal record backwards and raising the dead. And
that's the funny part, is the hole is already open in the backyard.
Right.
But when they play they get
like the gateway's open, but the music is like the demons hear the music and they're like,
right. They're like speculating about what would really set this shit off and like get things going, because obviously bored kids want to see demons pouring out of a hole in their yard because they're stupid. But they play the record backward and they throw a sacrifice into the hole. Yeah. And then that's what causes the demons to start crawling out.
And then there's all these, there's a seance. There's all these things that are like spoofed in like Kids in Trouble Halloween type things.
Oh yeah.
But these ones are all played straight. It has every single one, and it totally works.
Yeah, there's tons of gross and weird visual gags, like an eyeball appearing in the palm of someone's hand, which is probably the scariest thing I can think of.
It's not pleasant.
Imagine opening your hand and looking at it, and there's an eyeball staring right at you. Mm-hmm. Whose eyeball is that?
Unless you are somehow simultaneously looking at that and your own face.
Yeah, if you can see your own face.
I mean, it's still scary, but at least you know that you're the one. It's your eyeball.
Yeah, it's a superpower at that point.
Right.
You just have to worry about getting dirt in it.
Right.
But yeah, if you can't see out of it, then that's
fucked
terrifying. And then by the end, it's, the kids are just struggling to survive against these evil forces. They can't trust their parents. They can't trust anybody. And during the climax, Steven Dorff is alone trying to handle this shit. He gets blown up and like knocked like 100 feet like across his yard.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And then by the end, they've all done the right thing and managed to seal the gate.
Yeah. Somehow.
I think.
Maybe.
And
also, I think one thing I would bring up is just how impressive the demon effects are for this movie, for the time that it came out, and also the fact that this was not a high budget movie.
No, not at all.
And the stop motion demons are top notch.
There's probably no moment more 80s than the very end, where they've just gone through the battle of their life with the forces of hell, this tiny group of kids, and their biggest worry at the end is how to explain their blown up house to their parents.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
What's mom and dad gonna say?
100%.
We're grounded.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. You can't tell them that it was demons that did it, so you have to make up some excuse.
That's right.
It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. So if you're into kids versus demons, definitely check out The Gate.
So my second pick is a movie called The Manhattan Project. It's another movie from the 80s. It doesn't really have a supernatural bent. I mean, doesn't at all. But it has a lot of other things that kind of tie in thematically, just like kids doing dangerous things. And
yeah, it falls into that category of kids that are too smart for their own good.
Totally, yeah.
And go off half-cocked and get mixed up with like a government agency. And,
yes.
The stakes are high and they've got to get out.
Yeah. So the basic premise of this movie is this is about one of those cool nerds that were in a lot of movies in the 80s.
Oh yeah, they're super smart and super nerdy, but they also happen to have great hair
and really cute girlfriends.
And the whitest sneakers I've ever seen. So how did they keep their sneakers so white? I never could.
It's that like that shoe polish, not the sneaker polish. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about? Sneaker polish.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Cool kids had it. Anyway, it's about this kid. His mom is dating John Lithgow, who the kid figured out works for some secret government facility in the town. That
imagine dating John Lithgow.
Dude, that's just the movie right 80s there.
80s Lithgow when he still had plenty of hair.
Oh yeah,
God damn.
He figures out that the guy is like a weird nuclear test guy, and they're doing.
He's a rocket scientist.
Yes, they're doing some bizarre nuclear testing at this facility. So the kid breaks into it and steals some plutonium or some bullshit and builds a nuclear bomb. Not because he wants to do anything wrong with it. He just thinks it would be fun.
Yeah, he just thinks plutonium's neat, as we all do.
Yeah, and then the ramifications of building a nuclear bomb in your basement unfold, and that becomes
somehow he
movie.
doesn't poison the water system. He doesn't kill his family.
No, he's
and his hair doesn't fall out.
I mean, as responsible as you can be as a teenager building a nuclear bomb in your basement, he is that responsible.
Yeah.
For that action. The most responsible thing you could do is just not build the nuclear bomb. But if you're going to do it, he shows the safe way, the best way to do it.
I feel like this is a recurring theme of the 80s, where kids were intelligent, resourceful, and headstrong in regards to their interests.
Right.
Like, they still couldn't do their chores. They couldn't come to dinner on time. They leave their bikes in the yard. But if they were passionate about something, they really pulled it all together.
100%. So I don't really have a ton to say about this one, other than it's a delightful film, and I think you should watch it.
I've never seen it. I will probably never check it out, though.
It's okay.
There's no mutants, there's no monsters, there's no slime.
There are some mutant plants
Yeah, there's some five-leaf clovers.
Yes.
Which is not enough to get me to watch this movie.
Some of the plutonium looks like slime. I mean,
Crystallized slime.
maybe there is a mutant at the end. I just don't want to spoil it for you. Isn't John Lithgow kind of a mutant? I mean, no human is that handsome and creepy at the same time.
It's crazy how much he looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. Like,
Yeah.
Lithgow looks more like either the son or father of Bigfoot than he does of his family in that movie.
Yeah. So I would say this, and that's a direct result from all this plutonium research he's been doing.
Oh, that's classic.
There you go. This is a shared universe with Harry and the Hendersons.
I hope so. What if that was his cover after this movie? He just is like, I need to go into the, witness protection program, pair me with this loser family. I'll move to the Northwest. No one will ever find me, until he gets mixed up with Bigfoot. And then all of a sudden the spotlight is back on him. And then by the end of Harry and the Hendersons, he's got government agents tailing him, trying to shut him up.
It's full circle, man.
That's awesome. I love movies.
Mm-hmm.
They're all connected, see?
What's your next pick?
Well, my next recommendation falls into if you like the relationship of 11 with the group of boys from Stranger Things, you'll probably like Wes Craven's Deadly Friend.
Oh, no.
This,
I will say you probably won't like it.
everyone loves Deadly Friend. This is a classic. In the 1980s, Wes Craven was hot off of making A Nightmare on Elm Street, and so he got tasked with the story of a girl who is stuck with her abusive father, but moves into a neighborhood and meets a nice boy. Not too long after, his abusing gets out of hand and throws her down the stairs. So the name of the nice girl is Samantha, and after she gets thrown down the stairs, she's basically dead. So the boy, in all his infinite wisdom, decides to put a computer chip inside her, which is what any of us would do when faced with the untimely death of one of our friends.
It's been a while since I've seen this movie. Does anyone question the fact that she's brought back to life? Because I don't recall that ever happening.
They're happy to have her back, but I think everyone notices that she's behaving a little bit strange.
Yeah, but they're not like, hey, you were dead, now you're not dead?
No one knows about the secret death.
Oh, that's because, she throws him down the stairs and the boy just sees or something, like through the window.
It's a big
It's not, there's no funeral or anything.
Then she comes back, and even though she looks dead and acts dead and seems dead, no one ever really bats an eyelash other than thinking, well, she's acting kind of funny.
Now, correct me, because I might just, like I said, it's been a long time, but doesn't at the end of the movie, doesn't her skin fall off and now she's just a complete robot underneath, right?
Yes, she just transforms into a robot.
But he only put a computer chip in her brain or something, right?
Listen, no one really understands the nature of robotics and the melding with organic matter. So if you put a microchip into an organic life form and left it there for undisclosed amount of time, who knows what could possibly happen.
Fair enough.
I think those kind of experiments are illegal currently, so we'll never know until someone tries.
Well, I mean, illegal doesn't necessarily stop a lot of people from doing a lot of things,
It's true. But this movie really embodies the idea of this is our friend and she's crazy, because it's roughly 2 hours of this girl running around getting revenge on all the people that wronged her when she was alive.
This movie also really embodies the idea of being bad.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, the movie's not good. I mean, it's a bad movie. It's not enjoyable. I don't know. I'll probably watch it again.
I mean, honestly, the subgenre rather of dead kids being turned into robots by their friends is
there's not a lot to pick from.
Exactly. It's just ripe for storytelling.
Well,
so, I mean, they're just trying to lay the groundwork here.
If you guys got any ideas for this, you want to send us your pitch for friends who turn their dead friends into robots, we'd love to hear them. We have an excess amount of money that we've been trying to look for a project to invest into, so send it our way.
I have nothing but money to invest in terrible movies.
Perfect.
I just realized, though, this is probably ripe for a Disney Channel remake. Like, get some modern child stars and maybe dial back the gore a little bit, and this could be a real hit.
Wouldn't that just be like the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, which has already been made by Disney twice?
Basically.
Tight.
All right, so what have you got?
My next pick is a movie called My Science Project. It's another 80s flick. Surprise, surprise. It is from the screenwriter of a very popular 80s movie called The Last Starfighter. And he wrote and directed this one, and it stars the hero from Christine. I can't remember what that dude's name is, but not the kid who has the car, but the kid who's like, man, I think that car is really a bad influence on you.
Thanks for taking the time to research.
And he plays a kid that is like, shit, I have a science project due tomorrow. If I don't pass this class, I'm going to have to repeat the 10th grade or whatever. So he does what any reasonable kid does. He breaks into a government secret base, like an Area 51 types base, steals a engine from a UFO, and decides that's going to be his science project. But what he doesn't realize is he unleashed the force of time travel as well as other zany
magnetism, gravity.
Yeah, it's a lot of shit. I mean, it's got Dennis Hopper essentially playing what would happen is if coked out Dennis Hopper was your science teacher.
He has so much hair.
He has a lot of hair. And this is just a delightful movie. It kind of plays into what you had said earlier about like at the end of the gate, like how are we going to explain this to mom and dad?
Yeah, it's definitely full of hijinks and mayhem.
The whole movie is just like, well, we just created one problem after the other for us. We got to fix it somehow.
Yeah, just kids flailing their arms and going, whoa,
yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah. It's also co-stars Fisher Stevens.
Yeah, Fisher Stevens.
And this is a movie in the 80s where he doesn't pretend to be East Indian.
Wow.
So like he did in the Short Circuit movies. So it's got that going for it. That it doesn't have the overt racism.
Perfect.
So yeah, that would be my next pick.
How accurate is the science, do you think?
I say it would be like 99 to 100%.
Excellent.
I would imagine that the creative liberties are very slim. Everything I've looked about this movie backs up and checks out.
That's great, because I think scientific accuracy is really important to viewers these days. So we don't want to give them any picks that they might deem, unworthy.
No, they don't want. Yeah, they don't want to see anything that doesn't hold up and pass the test of.
Yeah, we don't want anything that Neil deGrasse Tyson can shred to bits with his.
The one thing this show is not going to end up on Mythbusters, and if it does, it's going to pass with flying colors.
Yeah, it'll probably confound the entire crew. They'll just be like, "Wow, can't see any holes in this one."
Yep. So I stand by it. Do you have was that number 3? That's number 3. Do you have a third pick, Keith?
No.
That's it? No third pick?
I'm kidding. Yes. My next recommendation is 1989's Little Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
Little Monsters is a starring vehicle for comedian Howie Mandel, also Fred Savage and that kid from Boy Meets World, and Kevin's older brother from Home Alone, Buzz.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously not his real name. But
yeah, that's probably his real name.
That was a popular name in the 80s. But Little Monsters is about two brothers whose family is on the verge of breaking up. The parents are about to get divorced. And with impeccable timing, a monster from under the bed shows up to cause some mayhem and also teach everyone the meaning of friendship.
That's beautiful.
It's incredible. But this is a movie where the adults are so busy being self-absorbed and, engaging in their adult garbage that they don't notice what's going on with their kids. The fact that they're disappearing under the bed every night to go party with a monster in Monsterland, play games and engage in pranks and just basically screw around.
This movie is one of the scariest kids movies ever made.
Absolutely terrifying.
Because this movie is the embodiment of those real life scenarios where you're like, this adult who's talking to me when you're a kid is a little too nice and likes the things that I like a little too much.
Or are you referring to the villain of the movie?
Whenever they're in Monsterland, I feel like something like it's fun, it's exciting, but something very unsavory is happening.
Yeah.
Right beneath the surface, you know. You know, where it's just like there's something like your parents. Like if your parents were aware that you're going to Monsterland, it wouldn't be because there was the monster, and they wouldn't want you to go because of the monsters. They just look around and be like, something doesn't feel right about this to me.
Well, I mean the ruler of Monsterland is named Boy.
Yeah,
that's just, his name is Boy, and he is visibly a monster with human skin stretched over his monster face.
Oh yes.
And I believe he's wearing a bow tie. It's sinister all around. And all he wants to do is for kids to come down to Monsterland and play with him.
Yeah. He 100% cut the face off of a child and stapled it to his own face.
Actually, I think the scariest part of that character is the idea that this could be a kid that got trapped under the bed and never made it out.
Yeah, 100%.
And he created Monster World and recruited other kids to be monsters, and somewhere his family is probably still looking for him.
It's like a horrifying Peter Pan type
it's
scenario.
really dark, actually. But the kids spend a lot of time down in Monster World having a great time, and eventually they make it out in what is actually a really heart-wrenching scene near the end, because if you're a kid and you stay in Monster World too long, you'll become a monster and you won't be able to get out.
Yeah.
And so eventually Fred Savage, his brother, and this girl from his class, they have to get out of Monsterland and never return. And it's this almost like a coming-of-age kind of moment where they're saying goodbye, and Howie Mandel, also known as Maurice the monster, gives him his leather vest as sort of a parting gift. And they shake hands one last time and end up crawling out underneath a beach towel in, I think, California.
Something like that. Yeah, it's the symbolic of saying goodbye to your childhood. And
yeah, definitely. You know that not too long after this, they probably didn't see each other again, and despite being best friends for a very short time. And, he probably grew up and became a cop or something shitty like that. And
he hunts monsters.
Probably doesn't tell any stories. Yeah, he probably grew up to be Mr. from Stakeland.
100%. 100%.
And he had to kill his little brother and probably the girl that he had a crush on, and life is pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, Little Monsters is a good time. If
Would
you
recommend.
ever fantasized as a kid about hanging around monsters and pulling pranks and screwing around and
I know I did.
avoiding homework and yelling at your parents for getting a divorce, this is the movie for you.
100%. Totally. Well, let's see. I have 2 honorable mentions before... Wait, hold on a second. Did you have any other specific movie you wanted to talk about?
Oh, no, that's it. There are no other good movies from the 80s to watch anyway, so just forget about it.
We'll edit this part out. I originally thought about talking about it at length, but then I realized I had talked about this on our underrated horror Halloween episode from a year or so back. And that's A Christmas Tale. It's a Spanish movie. Not going to go into the details here. You can watch it. You can hear about it on our other episode, the Horror Countdown, Underrated Horror Countdown.
Yeah, one question about that. Does a kid fall in a pit or does a witch fall in a pit?
A woman falls in a pit and then they think she's a zombie.
Right.
So, yeah.
But it's mostly a one-act play built around this pit.
No, because then they get the... I just said I wasn't going to explain the whole thing here. There's a lot of things that happen in the movie. Starts in the pit, moves along. You can hear about it if you go back and listen to our underrated horror countdown, or you can just go and watch the movie. The other one I'm going to mention is honorable mention is a movie that came out about a year ago called I Am Not a Serial Killer. The reason I'm not talking about it is because I think this movie is best if you go in cold and know as little about it as possible. It's got Christopher Lloyd in it. He's great. That's all I'm going to say.
Great.
I'm taking a vow of silence.
It's an honorable mention. But the part you're not going to mention is why fans of Stranger Things would like it.
Well, like I said, if I talked too much about it, I think it would give things away. I think it's best to go into this movie cold. The general
one question.
Yes.
Are there kids in it?
In I Am Not a Serial Killer,
Yes.
There are a couple kids in it.
Perfect. So
Yes.
if you like kids
There's a bicycle.
and you like movies, it's perfect.
Yes.
Awesome.
I think at this point we've gained your trust, so just trust me. Go and watch the movie. It's on Netflix, I think. Check it out.
Awesome. I'm going to do it.
All right.
Now that I think about it, though, I do have one honorable mention.
Ooh.
And that is Three Ninjas.
Get out of here. Okay. No, go ahead.
One thing that Stranger Things lacks is martial arts. No one does any roundhouse kicks. No one does any punching combinations or, like dunks a ninja into a toilet. So,
all right, Duffer Brothers, if you're listening to this, you've missed something important.
yeah, more like the Blunder Brothers. Yeah, get some martial arts in Stranger Things, please, because Three Ninjas is...
I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to go to the Upside Down again? No, let's get some zombie ninjas.
Yeah, send them to Japan to fight ninjas.
Oh my god. This show just got great.
Yeah.
Not our show. Stranger Things.
Stranger Things in
Stranger
Tokyo.
Things is so much better than it ever has been before. Even if it doesn't, I mean, they're not going to do this. No one's listening to this. This is not their plan. But just the fact that we've mentioned this adds a whole other layer to what Stranger Things could be. And for that, we have enriched the series beyond measure.
Yeah, it feels great to contribute to the lore and the canon of such a widely beloved show.
We're like pillars of pop culture. That's why you listen to our show.
We're in the zeitgeist now.
That's why you listen to our show.
Just because we added ninjas.
We've done it. On that note, I'm going to sign off at least.
I guess that's it.
All
Until
right.
next time, the dumpster is closed. Drop Dead Fred is the best movie
I
of all
guarantee
time.
that movie fucking
I've never seen
sucks.
it.
I loved it, but I guarantee you it's fucking terrible.
So Stranger Things, what about that fucking show?